I'd like to welcome you to our presentation about the Infinity Science Center and NOAA B-Wet grant. My name is Melissa Wadle, and I am the staff scientist and manager of grants and research here at Infinity Science Center. You'll also be working with Ms. Donna Torres, who is our education manager and also our professional development specialist. You'll be working with her especially through the EduPro professional development for the professional development portion of the grant. You will also be working with Corey Paggart, who is our science and research assistant, and he is also a licensed teacher, and he's going to be instrumental in helping you as we work through this grant. And Joe Pettigrew will be helping also around Infinity on any Infinity days. He's our master naturalist, and he is a forester. Through the grant, we are going to be administering a program that we have called the ISC Watershed Education and Environmental Impact Program. ISC standing for Infinity Science Center, and NOAA is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. We will talk about B-Wet and what that means in greater detail in just a little bit. Now, before we can understand the reason that the program is necessary, it's essential to identify the problem and the need. And from looking at the picture, you all understand this, what you're seeing. You see this in students, not just in math and science, but particularly in math and science. This is seen more often, where students just don't feel like they can succeed and that it's very difficult. And this slide just talks about some of the headlines that we've all seen about the student performance and literacy issues in science, math here in the United States. And these are just 3 articles. There are so many articles that highlight the problem. One of the problems, however, is that there aren't as many solutions as there is talk about the problem. So we can't focus only on the problem. We need simply to identify the problem and then find solutions. Now, the solution for us here, and the solution that I've found as a teacher in the past, is hands-on investigative learning. Hands-on investigative learning is essential for students to be able to find interest in science and STEM fields, as well as to become more interested in just doing their work and being involved in science. If we just sit and we talk with the students in terms of lecture and any other time that we're having discussion with them in class regarding homework or individual discussion, there's a point where our students just simply tune us out. And one of the other issues that I see is that there are students who have an aptitude for STEM fields, yet they have not had an awakening yet in terms of saying, you know what, this may be kind of more difficult or harder than some of my other subjects that I enjoy or don't find to be as difficult as science and math. But if they find a part of science that piques their curiosity and causes them to begin learning on their own, not just in the classroom and in the lab, but learning on their own and asking those questions and thinking about this beyond the classroom, those are students whose perspective will change about STEM fields, and these are students who will do course corrections in their career objectives. Now, hands-on investigative learning changes a student's career outlook and goals. This student here took samples home and worked over the weekend because she was so incredibly engaged in the topic. Their topic, this was a 9th grade student, their topic was Hydroviridissima, which is green hydra, and they are found in our ponds here, and we'll talk a little bit more about their projects in a little bit. But she got up without being told and sat at the microscope for hours working on this project. We also had a 12th grade student who worked very, very hard on her project and was equally or more engaged than this student. Now, the NOAA B-Wet program and grant, and I'll stop for just a minute and say that B-Wet stands for Bay Watershed Education and Training, is an amazing program. It really engages students in environmental activity, literacy education, particularly watershed education, which is very, very important for the students. Students need to understand how things are interconnected, and particularly our watershed, our groundwater, and other sources are our water cycle, how all of that's related, and what in the world does that have to do with pollution, human health, environmental health, and they're all interconnected. But you need to engage the student in environmental literacy programming and environmental hands-on investigations in order to help them to understand those connections. Now, the program that we will be running is for grades 5th through 12th. And if you're a teacher listening to this and you have younger students, keep this in mind for another time. But I will talk to you in a little bit about why it's important for us to have older students for this program. Now, the B-Wet program and the grant focuses on something called a MeWe, which is a meaningful watershed educational experience. And here you see Amy Clark, who is our NOAA coordinator on Stennis, working with some students. This type of learning is critical for students' understanding of the environment, environmental issues, and to foster environmental stewardship, which is essential. Even for students who don't choose to go into STEM fields, it is very, very important in the time that we're living in and the environmental issues that we face that our students and public alike learn to be involved in environmental issues and to foster environmental stewardship. This allows students to learn investigative skills. Now, we are going to be using the GLOBE program. The GLOBE program is a NASA program which is sponsored by NOAA, the National Science Foundation, which is NSF, and the State Department. GLOBE stands for Global Learning and Observation to Benefit the Environment. It is a citizen science program, but this citizen science program, to the level that we are going to be using it for the program, requires a teacher to be trained here at Infinity in order to take the program back to their school. The training is not difficult, but we need to have the teacher trained to be sure that they're following the protocol correctly and that they understand. Now, the data collected is used by NASA scientists, and that's pretty exciting to the students. When you have what we call a satellite match, and we'll talk about that too in just a minute, it will send an email and it will show the satellite match. And that's very exciting for kids because sometimes they are collecting scientific data or other data and they just don't see the relevance. They don't think that what they're doing as a student is important because they're a child or a student. This program helps to change that. So NASA scientists are using satellites to take images looking down on the Earth. What they do with the GLOBE data is we match the ground conditions. They try to match the ground conditions with those satellites so that they have a full picture. Now, this is an international program. There are students all over the world collecting this data, and that's also very intriguing and exciting for the students that you'll be working with. There are 4 protocols. There is atmosphere, hydrology, pedosphere, and biosphere. For the program, we are only going to be working with atmosphere and hydrology is water quality. And it is necessary to learn atmosphere and do atmosphere along with hydrology. Now, all data that is collected is uploaded to the GLOBE website, and that's important because that means that you have no data management issues. It will all be managed by GLOBE and by the GLOBE website. It is also very, very easy to download, and there are all kinds of data tools within GLOBE to help you. I have included 3 links here, one for GLOBE, one for the Student Research Symposia, and also for the Student Research Symposium, the virtual. And you will be required to participate in the virtual research symposium, which just means that you would be uploading your students' projects to the program, to the website online. And we'll talk more about the live symposia if that's something that you become interested in as you work through the program. Now, we included some very nice teacher incentives. And when I wrote the grant, I wanted very much for the grant to be spent on the students and teachers. I wanted this program to benefit the schools and the students and the environment. So we are going to be giving a $1,000 teacher stipend to each teacher. It will be broken down as you go through the year of the program when we actually meet for the beginning of the program for you, which will be the part where we do the professional development. You will receive free professional development that will be in the end of June. We'll talk about the dates in just a minute. And you will receive free CEUs. The professional development will include the GLOBE training and certification, and you will receive all equipment and supplies that will be necessary for the GLOBE program at no cost to you or your school. There will be 2 field trip days. The first one will actually be a field data collection day in the first semester of your school year, and you will decide that with your administrators. The bus and the substitute teachers will be covered, and you'll be going to a site that will be on a list of pre-chosen sites that will allow you to do field investigations with your student outside of the school. Now, the important thing about the field data collection trip is for the students to contrast the environments, and it's going to give you many teaching points within your classroom as well. The end of the year field trip will be to Infinity Science Center. It's a celebration and a presentation day, as well as a day for them to present to some decision makers within their communities. It is also at no cost to teachers or students. You will be, your buses will be covered, and you will also be covered for admission to Infinity. There will be no cost. There also will be 2 days of Infinity Science Center staff support at your school, one each semester, but you will also have additional support as needed by phone or video call, and we also have video conferencing, not just a video call, not just Skype. So we plan to be there to support you through this program. Now, this is a very basic timeline, and it is the middle portion is subject to change. The 2 things that are not subject to change is the very first thing, June 23rd, 24th, and 25th of 2020. That is the teacher PD and Globe training. And the very last one, May 7th and 8th of 2021, that is the Globe Student Research Symposium. That is the live symposium that will now be held at Infinity Science Center here in Pearlington, Mississippi. I'm very excited about that. Now, you again are not required to attend the live symposium, but I certainly hope that some of you choose to do that, because that's an incredible experience for your students. And I'm going to show you some pictures of the students that we took to the symposia. So August of 2020, the teachers and students, you're going to actually spend the time teaching them to collect the globe data. How do they take the atmosphere measurements, which are done daily, and it is not a large time commitment, maybe 10 minutes. You can send 2 students out. You can rotate the students each day. It does not have to be your whole class going out there and spending an exorbitant amount of time out in the field. So once it's learned, it's actually pretty quick to do the data collection. The hydrology is done once a week. It requires a little more time, but again, the idea is to rotate your students so that each student gets an opportunity and has a certain number of MeWe hours, but also I want you to understand as a teacher that this will not monopolize your entire class time, which is one of the concerns that many teachers have about this program. Now, from September of 2020 to December of 2020, the teachers and students will participate in that off-site research trip, and that will be at your choosing. That's why there's a broad range on those dates. As a teacher, I was not allowed to go on a field trip during the first quarter of school. Some schools may not have that rule, but we wanted to have some variability in the timing so that you could choose that time that was best for you. Now, from September of 2020 through February of 2021, students will collect data. They will work on their abstract. They will work on answering their research question. Students will be doing a full research project, and that is one of the important parts of this grant that make it more appropriate for older students. Now, March 20 of 21, students will begin data analysis, finishing up their research paper and doing their poster for their presentations. And then in April of 2021, the teams need to be practicing their presentations. So you can see that there's a wrap-up period. It's not a really long period of time, and there are different parts of this, but as it's broken down over the year, it really is not as difficult as it looks up front. It becomes easy to do, especially once you and your students know the protocols. And you're, with older students, just giving assignments to your students and then checking the work and then doing some in-class work with them and a little bit of in-field work at different sites. So as you look at that with your students, as it's broken down over the year, it's very manageable. And that's the thing that I would like for you to see, is that this is very manageable. Now, on May 7th of 2021, is our final presentation and celebration day at Infinity Science Center. I have heard from some schools that is finals week and that there will be final exams. So that date is a little bit fluid. It won't be fluid after the professional development. We'll try to hammer that out then. But the Student Research Symposium, again, that is not fluid. But the May 7th date can be a little bit fluid, but we do need to make a definitive decision about that by the summer. Now, again, submitting projects to the virtual symposium is mandatory, but participation in the physical symposium is not required. And again, the 2021 Southeast Globe Student Research Symposium will be held at Infinity Science Center. And we're going to have some really nice surprises for you. Now, this is the team that I worked with. And initially, I had some of the same concerns that you probably had when you heard about the program. I was not sure about the amount of work that was going to be required or how I was going to manage that with my work here at Infinity. This was one of the first field investigation days. This was the Gulf Island National Seashore Site. The student there is a 12th grader working with a refractometer to test salinity. And they also did the other water quality tests out there. And the students really enjoyed this. When we went out in the field, they were engaged, they had fun, they talked, and they had, social time as well, but it was engaged around what they were doing. So it was a really neat experience for the students. And again, at this point when we were beginning, I was a bit concerned about the time involved, but I'm going to show you as we go that it actually was not as bad as I thought that it was going to be. It was very manageable, and it was really an amazing experience for me, and especially for these students. Now here's data collection. The students came out to Infinity. This was a day that they came out to work with me here. They, at this point, this was probably about 2 months before the research symposium in Atlanta, which we'll talk about shortly. And they were on autopilot at this point. There's nothing that I needed to tell them. These students were all very used to doing the protocols. On the left, the picture on the left, they're sitting at the weather station out here at Infinity. They had an iPad. You can either use a tablet, an iPad, or the students can have a sheet of paper that they can print out. You can print off the Globe website for them to record the data. And then we moved over, the top right picture is them doing water quality. They're looking at water clarity there at the top in that turbidity tube. But the students at this point were completely autonomous and actually achieved this type of autonomy with the protocols very quickly. Within the month of August, probably about the third week, they were completely independent on the weather station. And by the beginning of September, completely independent, just with minimal supervision, them being where I could see them with the hydrology protocol. Now in the lab, again, you can see these students know what they're doing. They know how to record their results. I was amazed at how quickly the students learned, how much they enjoyed doing this. And I was surprised to find that they really enjoyed the hydrology. They enjoyed working with these kits. It made them feel like scientists. So they really, really enjoyed this. Now, this is the 11th and 12th grade, same thing. And right here they're doing the dissolved oxygen test for the hydrology protocol. And the student to the left there in the blue shirt, that's Anna. And Anna was the other student who excelled at this. And Anna, her father is a scientist at the Gulf Coast Research Lab in Ocean Springs. And Anna had no interest in science, but after we ran through this program, Anna applied to a NASA internship last summer, and she has decided that science is what she would like to do. So this program really changed things for Anna, and I was very excited about that. The girl on the left, Natalie, is going to be a pharmacist, and this program was very exciting for her. This is the 9th grade team. The focus of their project was Hydroviridecima, which are green hydra. They are really, really cool animals. They're microscopic, just absolutely cool. They're related to coral polyps. I could go on about them. I think that this is really a cool project. This is their poster, and this is a 9th grade project. These students amazed me. There were 7 teams that were formed of a small private school, Grace Baptist Academy. They're biology and chemistry students. And out of those, 2 teams went to the regional, and these 2 teams really did a great job with the projects. They looked at the importance of monitoring Hydroviridecima, or green hydra, as a bioindicator, which means a living indicator of to assess the wetland ecosystem health. We live in a wetland ecosystem, and that's an essential part of a watershed, and we'll talk about that more later in the training if you join us. Now, they wondered how water pH, which is one of the things that they measured, could help scientists understand the effects of climate change and acid rain in wetland ecosystems using these green hydra as a bioindicator species. And that's a really important question. And there are scientific articles that they found in doing their research, their literature review, that they should be used as bioindicator species because of their resilience in the environment. This is the 12th grade team, and this is Anna again. Anna set up this plant experiment. I was very, very impressed with her experiment. This student took this so seriously that she set this experiment up, and I didn't really realize in the beginning that she was going to do this. I knew they were going to do an experiment. I did not know she was already doing it. So when I went out for the first school trip, the plants were not this big, but she had these plants in the window of the school. And you can see on the bottom that they were labeled acid. They did an acid, which was hydrochloric acid, and they used sodium hydroxide, which is a base. And they used a low molarity to water the plants and see what happened to understand the effect of acid or base. They also recorded the pH of those solutions. And they also, Anna included 2 controls. She included spring water and well water. Spring water from Walmart and well water from her well, which I was really impressed that a student who had not previously had interest in a science field did enough homework on her own without being told to know that she needed a control, and she used 2. So I was very, very impressed with this project. They studied the effect of pH on plant health. And now that was important when you look at wetland ecosystems again, because wetland ecosystem it filters toxins that come in the environment or pollutants. And when the plants are doing their job, those don't make it out into the Gulf of Mexico and then into us, or further down into the environment and into us through plants and other animals that we might eat. So they looked at that and how the filtering, because plants, again, filter that, particularly in dense wetland areas, the filtration is really good. So I was, again, very, very impressed with these projects. In fact, this was our team, Infinity's team, the 12th graders, and there was an 11th grader in here. And they won an award for community impact because of this project. Now, these girls did go to the 2019 Globe Southeast Student Research Symposium. It was in May of last year. They went with NASA funding. There was NASA-sponsored funding provided for them by grant, and there was a grant application. Some of these girls had never been anywhere like this before, so this was a really, really neat thing for them. They really enjoyed the trip. They actually gave us a stipend also on top of that to take the girls out. They put them up at the Marriott there in Atlanta. We were very close to the Georgia Aquarium. The girls all wanted NASA t-shirts. They were really excited about that. On the left, you see the girls eating at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. We really wanted to treat them and spend the money on them, really spoil them on this trip because they'd worked so hard. They had inspiration when they were at this meeting. I was just overwhelmed at the speech given by the Reverend Gerald Durley. He's an environmental justice and civil rights leader. Dr. Durley marched with Dr. King. Also present was business leader Juliette Hall, who you see there. I do have a link for you to listen to Reverend Durley's speech. I encourage you to listen to it. He is just such an amazing speaker, but he has such wisdom for these kids and really challenged them, lifted them up, spoke positive words over them while at the same time challenging them. So I, put the link in here for you to be able to watch it. And also on our website where this link is, you will also find a PDF copy of this presentation so that the links, you're able to click on the links. So please do that. Now here are the student teams at the symposium, and look at them. They're in business casual. They're standing there with their posters. They have some supplemental materials on the table. I quizzed these girls, and we talked to them, and other people talked to them and quizzed them and had them present until they were ready to go. But even so, when you get them there, there's just kind of this anxiousness for you as a teacher as you're looking at these kids and you're going, are they really ready? But there they are, and they're happy, a little nervous, but very happy to be there. These are their posters, and this will be their poster presentation. They had to go through a peer review process. They participated in both sides of that, and that was a really neat thing. And it gave the students some insight into the importance of peer review. There was a science review process. There were EPA scientists, NASA scientists, other scientists there, and they did not let these kids off easy. Now they were asked questions, they were asked details. They really had to think about the questions they were being asked, because they maybe asked some questions that were really made the girls think, and there were other people there, but our girls in particular. They asked all of the teachers and everybody to leave the room, so these kids were on their own with these scientists, and this was an incredible growth experience for these kids. You know, if there's one thing that I can say to you, it's that this is such an important thing for any young person to learn, is to work very hard on something, to present it and have the satisfaction of knowing that their hard work meant something. And also to know that they can do it. Some of these kids don't believe they can accomplish something like this. So this was just such an incredible experience for these kids. This is Infinity Science Center's team, and they won the award for community impact. Anna in particular, I mean, they were all excited, but Anna just, this was really a big thing for Anna. So what do you see here when you look? These are some of our classes here at Infinity Science Center. We have a variety of classes, but all of the classes in the lab that I've written and that Corey and I do, and Corey is our science and research assistant and teacher that I talked to you about before. He came in, he's helping me with this program as we've been expanding and growing. But as I've written these programs, I want the kids to really see science. I want to challenge them, not scare them, but challenge them. So we can talk about difficult concepts in an easy to comprehend way, or at least discuss a difficult topic and they're listening to me because they're interested. They're really, really interested in what we're talking about because of what they're seeing. So in the faces of all of these kids is the future. Look at their faces. We do play a part in our current time in what we do with our knowledge. Knowledge is not just for us, it's to be stewarded on to the next generation. Unless we pass that to somebody else, it dies with us. So it's essential to pass that on. I see curiosity in these faces. I also see kids that are going to solve some of the most challenging problems that we face today. We have serious environmental issues. We need to work on renewable energy. We have human health problems. We have cancer that we're still working with, finding cures and doing research. Things that need thinkers and people who have dreams and visions because they were inspired by the things that we do with these kids. The work that we do here is critical and it is life-changing, and so is the work that you do. So I want to ask you to partner with us and help us to do this work. This little girl here came into one of our open labs, and she was so excited by what she saw in the microscope, and it was just a sample of our pond water. I see high schoolers with their hands on their cheeks like that, and these smiles and this disbelief that there's so much life in a drop of water. Well, at the point that she sees all of that life, I can talk about biodiversity, and that little girl can understand what I'm talking about because she's interested, and I can break it down for her. That's the importance of coupling all learning with hands-on investigation. Again, this is about influence and stewardship. And my question is, will you help them find out who they were meant to be and what problems they're meant to solve? I promise you that amongst our students sit those people, those children who will go on to be the adults that will solve these problems. And we don't know who those students are. Our job is to give them the experiences and the type of learning that challenge them to become who they were meant to be, and that we give them resources and connect them with people, if it's not us, that can help answer the questions so that they can progress in their careers. Now, this is the team, and the last time that you'll see them here in this slide. Again, just please look at their faces for a minute. They are going to be the ones who put colonies on Mars. They are going to be the ones that find long-term, cost-effective and cost-efficient renewable energy solutions. These are the people that will cure cancer, that will find ways for people with spinal cord injuries to walk again. And that's just the beginning of what these kids that we work with are going to do. Now I have some more links here for you. You can visit www.infinity.com to find the B-Wet tab under programs and events under our education tab on our website. You can contact myself, Corey or Donna, for more information. And I would just like to encourage you to apply to our program. Join us and find out what's possible. Help us make a difference in the lives of these students. And I really look forward to seeing the applications. I look forward to your questions. And I really look forward to beginning this program with the teachers and then the students in the 2021 school year. Thank you all so much for your kind attention.